Are you tired of spending your time and money chasing strategy after strategy only to discover what worked 10, 5, or even 2 years ago is not working now? Things shift fast in the online space, and if you're not keeping up, you're getting left behind. It's time for something different. Welcome to the Marketing, Media, and Money Podcast, where every single episode will be jam-packed with proven, profitable strategies, behind-the-scenes secrets, and what's working now resources from industry experts and global influencers to help you scale your business, shorten your learning curve, and stand out in a crowded, noisy marketplace. And now, your host, award-winning marketing and media strategist, and international speaker, Patty Farmer.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Marketing, Media, and Money Podcast. I am looking forward to sharing another amazing industry expert with you today, and I am really excited about our guest today. Somebody I know personally, have known her for a very long time. We have had lots of conversation over coffee and on stages, and I think you're going to get a lot out of what she's going to share today, so make sure you get your pen and paper out now. So Tanya Smith is a highly credentialed online marketing coach specializing in teaching digital strategies to leverage video and high-quality social content that equips entrepreneurs to balance life and business while they serve more people, connect authentically, and enhance lives. I just love that, Tanya. And Tanya, and thank you for being here today with me.
Thank you for having me. You know, I would do anything for you, Patty.
Oh, how sweet is that?
Anything.
Very, very sweet. So let's just jump right in. I think that you have done so many things, and I really love it because what people might not realize if they weren't really listening as much or caught it, that you're a marketing coach. I'm a marketing coach, right? Mm-hmm. I love having people on my show that can either share an interesting perspective, validates what's happening, what's trending now. And you are really right now doing something that I think is really cutting edge as far as opportunities and what people can do right now. And I really want to talk about that, but I want to step back first for a second, because one of the things that I think is when we think about what we're doing now and how we're serving, the reality is we didn't just wake up one day and say, oh, I think I want to do this, right? There's always a journey that gets us to where we are. And I know a little bit about your journey, but I'd really like it if you'd share that with your audience. So what was your aha moment that really made you realize that this may be what you were doing, but now you're where you need to be and what you're meant to do? How did you get there?
Oh my goodness, there's so much, as you know, but I'll condense it and just talk a little bit about what brought me to the place where I am right at this moment. And honestly, there are a lot of different things. We always experiment as marketers and as people who are in the business that we're in. We're constantly looking for ways to make sure that we're serving other people. But sometimes we have, I think, a sense of overwhelm. And,
for sure.
And I had reached that point of burnout, honestly. So when I first started coaching years ago, I initially started working with folks to help them be more promotable in their own career. So they were working for other people. They weren't self-employed entrepreneurs. They were corporate folks, people who worked for another company. And at the time, what I was finding is that I wasn't really even passionate about my own corporate job in that way. So it was tough for me to really try to convince people, hey, yeah, you need to really try to climb the ladder and, get the resume written. But I did it apparently well enough such that other folks who were actual marketers and entrepreneurs were seeing my content on social media. And because they were seeing it, they would say, hey, teach me how you did this. How did you use Twitter to drive people to your telesummit? Or how did you use use Facebook to do X? And the more that I got those questions, the more I realized, okay, maybe I'm in the wrong business. And I think every decision that I've made in my entrepreneurial career has been because there was some type of light bulb moment, and it's not one that's like a shock. You don't have this lightning strike you and then all of a sudden, everything is clear, right? It just doesn't work like that. I'm the person that's in the remedial class, so I need a few signs. And for me, I ended up having that sign be the first one that I needed to work more with people who were in entrepreneurial positions, people who were self-employed and wanted to really promote themselves to the world or to their specific audience, I'll say, using online tools like social. So that was one of the first lightning strikes for me, but then it took a few more to get me to this place where I am, where I'm actually marketing or working with people to use video. I decided, I don't know, it was probably around 2015, 2016 when my husband was diagnosed with colon cancer, that I was going to not only just use social media and use some of the content strategies that I was used to teaching people in the marketing space, but I decided that I also needed to put out on-demand courses. I needed to have something that was in the space promoting myself and my business while I was tending to my husband and tending to other things that were going on in life. Because it was a really difficult juggle.
For sure.
And, you have to look at what priorities are at every point in your life. And at that point, mine was not, let me be on, social media 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or even working with people one-on-one. I was doing a lot more classes. I was doing more on-demand content. And I started to delve into doing video. But the thing about video is I was scared to put my face on camera. So instead of putting my face on camera, what I would do is I'd create slides. So my courses were all like, screen sharing of slides, and I'd be talking, but you would not see my face.
And what a beautiful face you have.
Oh, well, thank you. But it was not, you have all of those things, those beliefs about yourself that hold us back from putting ourselves on camera. And so I was really, really struggling with that. And especially, I'll tell you this, Patty, during that time, I did put my toe in the water and try to get on camera. And I remember, I'll never forget this. I think I actually took a snapshot, a screenshot of it, because I wanted to remember for future. But I was on camera, and because of everything, all the stress that was happening in our world, with this cancer thing, my hair was coming out, my face was breaking out. I was just having like a really bad time physically. So I really was not proud of my appearance in a way that I would put myself out there. But I decided to put myself out there. Just, one night I did a live stream on Facebook, and a woman popped up in my comments. And she had no question about the marketing content I was sharing. There was nothing to do with any of the strategies that I was talking about. She made a comment, something to the effect of, if I were to put your face next to unprofessional in the dictionary. No, she said, if you look up unprofessional in the dictionary, you'd see your picture. She literally said this, and she put this in the comments. So it wasn't a private message. It wasn't wow. It was in the comments. And she wasn't hiding. So it was not like it was even an anonymous comment. But I'll tell you, I had shaved my hair all the way down because it was coming out so badly that my stylist said, let's just shave it down. You have a small head. So we'll just make it work. And so I guess the woman's issue was with me having this really super uber short haircut. And at the time, it did throw me a little bit, but
that could have wiped you out. That could have just wiped somebody else out, man.
You just feel like, is it even worth it to put myself out here? Because my biggest fear of being on camera was the fear of being judged by other people. And I think a lot of us run into this same fear, and we have this belief that what other people think about us from a visual standpoint is either going to make or break our career. So that's a limiting belief that I had adopted. So when I heard her, or saw this comment rather, I sent her a note afterwards and said, I'm assuming that you were trying to be positive, but I'm not sure that I found what the message was. And she made another comment like, I was trying to help you.
Oh my goodness.
And honestly, that, Patty, from there, I could have taken one of two directions, because you're at a crossroads. This is my other lightning strike. And it was, you either can just shut it down altogether and never do a video again, or you can get yourself back on the horse and keep going. And so at the time, it still was slow progress. But at the time, I had done a few of those Facebook live streams. And at that time as well, I noticed that there was hardly any organic growth in my Facebook page. And some of you probably can attest to this. I know you can raise your hand in the air if you know that your Facebook page is dead. So mine was dead at the time. And I did not have a lot of people watching or coming. But the more that I started watching my metrics, and I saw that those live streams were really boosting the numbers, the audience numbers, and the participation, the more I decided, okay, you know what? I'm just going to go out there and I'm just going to do it. Regardless of what other people might perceive, I know that what I'm sharing is of value. It's going to help somebody. And I started hearing more comments that were positive. I started getting feedback. People started saying, thank you so much for telling me, this tip that I never knew I could use. And it's benefited me greatly in my business, et cetera. So the more I started hearing that, the more confident I became. And I just branched out and started doing more video, grew my page audience. My audience numbers just grew by leaps and bounds. And I consistently now do a live stream weekly on my Facebook page where my face is on camera, like it's prominently on there, regardless of whether my hair is perfect or my background is golden or any of those things. I realized that I had a message that needed to be shared, and that if I held myself back from doing that, from saying what needed to be said, then others would suffer from not having that information, or they would just never know what they were capable of because I failed to see myself as capable.
I think that really makes a lot of sense, though, because we all have different things that stand in the way. Like we all have like some type of stumbling block. And, sometimes somebody almost does have to slap you to be able to, like, we get so inundated with our own stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember one time I didn't want to do video because I was worried about what I looked like. And I kept thinking, oh my gosh, I just, we're all just worried about that, right? And I was telling my best friend, right? I'm not a little girl, right? And I was telling my best friend, she's been my best friend for like 35 years, right? Mm-hmm. And she's not an entrepreneur. So of course, like, she didn't get it, right? But when I told her about it, she's like, that's so silly. And not only that, Patty, you're a speaker. So it's not like when they see you on the stage, you look like you're a size 5. And when you're on video, they're gonna be like, oh my gosh, I thought you were a size 5, right? And it was so funny. Like, I couldn't help but laugh, right? And it was kind of like, Patty, that is dumb, right? So we do have things that do stand in our way. Yeah. Right. And sometimes, and actually probably most of the time, it is us. And I do want to say, Tanya, it was really funny is I remember going back all those times you and I would meet for coffee. And one of the things I always thought was really funny is that when we would get together, now, even though we didn't do exactly the same thing, right? Marketing is a big, huge umbrella. And even so, we both have a very abundant mentality. But I remember that you were one of the few people that when we would meet, we'd have our like notebooks out and we'd be like, oh, what about this? Did you know this? Oh, blah, blah, blah. And one of the things that I've always really enjoyed and valued that you always bring to the table is you're kind of like you like to tinker, right? Like you always like try new stuff. like some people like to wait to the proven thing. They want to like, oh, what are the reviews on this? And what is this? And what is that? But not you. You're like doing this. You say, oh, Patty, I found this new thing and that new thing and this new thing. So whenever I would see something, I would just send it over to you. And I'd be like, well, what about this? Have you done this? Because you were just like jumping in with new stuff. And like, you're on edge, like right on the edge of what's happening all the time. And I love that about you. And you're not worried about just trying stuff. Oh, well, if it doesn't work, I'll just change it out and I'll do this, and stuff. And I think that is really good. And, not everybody is giving out that information. And I have always really, really liked that you did that and admired you for that. And like staying on top of what's happening because, that's what this show is all about too, is like what's working now. That's what people need to know. What was working 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, it may have worked great then. It's just not what is working now. So staying on top of that. So here you are, video, doing live streams, all those things. Those are the things that are really working now.
Yes.
So what would be a tip that you would say? So for somebody who that is something that they're really nervous about, right? For whatever reason, they
Mm-hmm.
are really nervous. What would you say is a tip, or a few maybe, where they could just dip their toe? Like, what are some easy ways? Like, I remember that for me, the first thing I did was SlideShare, right? SlideShare was like
Mm-hmm.
super easy, right?
Yeah, it was.
And I remember saying, I'm going to have somebody illustrate me, and I'm just going to have this little illustrated Patty,
Yep.
whatever and stuff though. So, those were my versions of what I thought. But what are some ways that if somebody's a little bit nervous and you were going to give
Mm-hmm.
advice to maybe a brand new entrepreneur or business owner that just wants to start with video and it
Mm-hmm.
is their fear, like how can they just like start, and then so they can build up a little bit more courage, see some ways it's working? What kind of advice would you give them?
I would get 3 things. So one would be what you just said, which is if you're worried about putting yourself on camera, initially you can start with something like a slide, right? So just have a slide deck and just talk over that. One of the tools that I use, I've used it for years. I was an early adopter and they still have it out there and it's super affordable. It's called Screencast-O-Matic. Screencast-O-Matic.com. If you go there and you download their software, you can literally just record your screen and you can talk into your microphone as you're going through the different PowerPoint slides or whatever slides you might be using, Google or Beautiful.ai, either one of those. But yeah, start with slides. That's one. A second tip, because I really, really want you to get past the slides. Okay, and let me just share this analogy. When I used to be a cosmetic beauty consultant, sales director, etc., the way that I first tried to sell this makeup is I would throw flyers under people's doors because I did not want to talk to anyone. So I think that the slides are a little bit like you throwing your flyers under someone's door. What they really want, what they're hungry for, is to see your face. So the second thing I would tell you to do, if you really want to try to put your toe in the water and just get comfortable and confident about it, is pick up your smartphone and just record yourself. Record yourself. Do it, even if you had to do it once every day for like 2 to 3 minutes. Just record yourself talking into the camera. Another way that you can do this, if you want to experiment, like really experiment with live streaming, is in Facebook. You can literally go into Facebook and just set up a live stream that only streams to you. You just change the audience, okay? You can do that, especially if you're in your personal profile, and it will only do a test run with you as the only audience member. The next thing I would say, the third step, is to adopt, and I have a part B to that second one, so let me say this first. After you've looked at your own live stream and you're just testing it out by yourself, make sure you do pull a friend, phone a friend, somebody that you trust that will give you constructive critique, just like Patty did, right? Ask a friend to look at it and give you some objective feedback. Because sometimes we have little idiosyncrasies, we have little things that we do, like we may be pushing a pin button over and over again, or we may be rolling our eyes, or there's little things sometimes that we do when we first start out on camera that we don't even recognize we're doing. So have a friend kind of give you some honest feedback. So that's part B on number 2. The third and final thing I would say, and this is a big one to me, Patty, because it's one thing I really had to do for myself, but it's all about changing the mental. So adopt some affirmations that will help you, because a lot of the reasons why we don't get on camera and we feel less confident is because of things that we've been told as children. I used to be told all the time that my nose was huge, my teeth were too big, my ears were too small. All of these things, right, are playing like a record in your head. So affirming that I let go of all negative thoughts and feelings about myself and my appearance. That's an affirmation that I repeated to myself. A second affirmation is that I am talented with a unique set of gifts and a message that no one else can share. So adopting, giving yourself statements and repeating these statements to yourself will help you to overcome that broken record that is giving you all that negative flow. So I would say that that's the third and final thing, is really take the time to work on your mental.
I really love that. I hired a coach, and it was really funny too, because I always like to, literally almost everything I've done is like, I just push myself and say, okay, I'm going to make the decision. That's the first thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to figure it out, like make the decision and then do what I need to do. So this is sort of kind of funny. I hired this coach whose job was, like, what she did for a living, like the word like made me cringe. It's even hard to even say it, to be totally honest.
Mm-hmm.
So her thing is to train celebrities. And what she says that she does is, I had already been a speaker for like 8 years, but she said what she does really isn't what that word sounds like.
Uh-huh.
What she actually really does is she wants you to be comfortable anytime somebody put a microphone in front of you. So like on a moment's notice, if somebody put a mic in front of you, you would just totally know, like you'd feel comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I just like jumped right into that. And I have to tell you, she put me through some stuff, but here's how she made me start doing video.
Mm-hmm.
And it was even scary, but it got much easier. So for those of you that don't know, I do a quote of the day every day.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And what she made me do every day was whatever my quote of the day was. She made me flip on my phone and record myself saying the quote of the day and why did I pick it.
I love that.
And so she was like, Patty, it's not just to do the quote because now you're just reciting, right? But I want you to share from your heart. Why'd you choose that quote that day? And then I had to send them to her. And and I have to tell you, every day she would text me like, I haven't got your quote of the day yet. Right. And I had to send them to her, and it was really funny. And then after that, the second thing we went to was she made me write down 10 questions that people ask me all the time. Like, what are the same things that you get asked over and over and over again? Right. We all have them, whatever your industry is, everybody has them. And she made me write them down. And then what she did, I had to say a video answering the question. So it was like a 2 or 3 minute video. And I have to tell you, they were really small and they really helped me a lot.
Yeah.
So
they gave you that practice time, right? It gave you that momentum. Mm-hmm.
They really did. So that was really what it did for me. So you can start small. It's not a big thing. You don't have to just like jump into the deep end, right? You can just kind of do it a little bit smaller and take your time, right? So I think that is something somebody could really do. So if you were going to go back and talk to your younger self, what would you tell yourself to do first? What would be the first thing you'd be like, girl?
If I were to tell my younger self one tip, it probably would be to get over yourself and stop trying to make everything so perfect before you launch. Because I'm there now, right? I'm at that place where I'm like, it's not perfect, but it's ready. But early on, oh my God, everything had to be lined up. All the lights had to be green. Had to make sure I had the perfect landing page and my website was just beautiful. And all of these things had to be in order. And meanwhile, I would never take an action, like I had no client. So,
well, you're right. Done, not perfect. I got caught up in that too. I would play this little scale. Like one side of me was like, oh yeah, I get it. Done, not perfect. That makes sense. And this other part of me would say, I know, but you only get one chance to make the first impression, right? Those were the things that used to get in my way. So I totally get that. Yeah. So what do you love about your business today? Here you've been through all these things, you're changing lives, you're giving value all the time. What do you love the most today about your business?
What lights me up is when I get to see someone who I know was shy and introverted and to themselves, because I'm a big introvert too, but they were to themselves. They were putting the flyer under the door with the video too. And then they come out and they shine in a video. And it's not a perfect video. It's not one where they have all this fancy equipment in the background. It's simply their smartphone and their voice and their face. But they look like they're happy talking about the topic that they're talking about. I love seeing that. And in my Facebook group, I get to see that now because that's our practice space for the different interactive challenges that I do. Usually the challenge for each day has something to do with doing a video or sharing about what the experience was like as they were going through the step. And I promise you there's nothing that lights me up more than just seeing that and hearing from people that I used to be here, but now I'm here. I used to be at point A, but now I'm at point E because of what we've been learning. That lights me up.
Well, you know, I think that the things that people want the most are authenticity for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, but they want you to shorten their learning curve. Well, how can you shorten their learning curve if it was always perfect for you, right? So basically what we're doing is like, we're shortening that by telling you, oh, here's the missteps that we took. And I have to tell you, one of the things that has always really made me happy is when I meet people and they say to me, you know what, Patty, now when I hear you speak, you are exactly the same in person as you are on social media.
Yep.
When you're on the stage, you're exactly the same. Well, if you were only put things out when you were absolutely perfect, well, when people meet you, first of all, none of us are perfect, right?
Right.
And two, for what we're doing and how we show up in the marketplace and the value we bring to the marketplace, we want people to go, oh, well, if you can do it, I can do it too. I never want anybody to look at me and go, oh, well, Patty, because I really want to be able to say, no, it hasn't always been this way, right?
Yeah.
This has been through lots of practice, lots of trial and error, but let me show you where, you know, the pitfalls were so that you don't have to make the pitfalls.
That's right. You can take some shortcut.
Right. So I think that's really important. And I think, you know, if there's somebody out there that's trying to be all perfect, that isn't what people want anyway, right? What they really want is, okay, we see that you've done this, this, and this, but what we really want to know is, what can that do for me? Like, what's the results I can expect to get? And I think that is really being authentic, and it's much easier for people to do, and they really like that better. So I would say that's really good. And you are very, very good at that. So I really, and you're very,
thank you.
You love to serve. And I think that is really good too. So now let's talk about money. Let's talk about money.
All right.
Can you give us like a strategy? So now you're doing video, right? Now you're doing these live streams, and you've kind of alluded a little bit of watching your metrics and stuff. So can you share with us maybe something that you learned along the way while you were doing that either helped you to monetize those strategies or maybe even save you money? Like, there's things that we do, but how does doing this, like I did this and use this tool or this app or do it this way, and that's going to help you more? Because if we're going to do it, we might as well make money at it, right?
Exactly. I mean, it's funny because right now we're working on, there's a challenge that I'm hosting called List Building with Video, because what I realize is that many of us don't take whatever content you're sharing, we don't take that and say, ooh, I'm going to use that to monetize. Instead, we simply put it out there and hope and pray that, hey, maybe somebody will like that image or that graphic or that quote that I sent out there. Maybe they'll like that enough to come and want to do a discovery call with me. But it doesn't always work that way. So what we're talking about is, how do you take this video content and monetize it? How do you turn it into, first of all, an integrated part of your sales cycle? How do you put it into everything that you do and make it something that drives people from becoming a lead to becoming a paid customer? And so your list, as you know, is a huge part of the way in which we are able to move people forward in that whole process. And so what we've been talking about is monetization through the process first of list building. So building people or subscriber numbers in our email service. So we're using video in a number of different ways over the 10 days. I've given them one lesson every day where we talk about, okay, today's lesson is going to be, for instance, that you're going to send a private personal message using your social inbox. Send a private personal video message using your social inbox. And so one of the things, for instance, that I've had people do today is I've had them go into LinkedIn, and either they can do this by simply creating a video with their smartphone and then uploading that video with their smartphone into their LinkedIn post, and they're sharing a private message with one or two people who they really wanted to reach in the LinkedIn network. So maybe it's somebody that had already reached out to them and had connected with them, a while back, and they didn't follow up. And maybe they're using that message to say, hey, I just wanted to reach out to you because it's been a while since we connected. I know we met at such and such networking event. Right now, I'm actually taking in 5 clients for the month of November, or whatever you might want to say, right? And wanted to make sure that I shared this with you because I know you mentioned an interest in XYZ. So what I'm doing is getting them to intentionally think about not just, hey, let me go do a video on YouTube and go viral, but how do I use that video as a message in a personal inbox to drive clients, right? And so in the process of using this content in a way where we're intentional about what we want the end result to be, you're more likely to actually monetize versus just hoping and praying that somebody might see your video out in the world. We're actually reaching out and using the power of engagement, because video not only is more engaging than text or audio, but it's also going to it's going to build your trust and credibility factor. Like, people see you as a real person, as Patty already mentioned. They see you as someone who's authentic because they can see your facial expressions and, how excited you are about talking about whatever it is you're asking them or talking to them about. They can see all of that and hear it, and everything is right there inside of that video. And it's more likely that they'll respond because it's different. So that's one of the ways, Patty. I mean, I'm thinking nowadays a lot more about being intentional about every action and making sure that it's going to lead to some type of monetization, because otherwise this is just a hobby.
Well, and not only that, but I think, like, for me, when I was speaking to my group today, I actually told them too, I said, one of the things, repurposing is wonderful, but if you can shift your mindset to thinking beforehand, not like do something, and then when you do it, go, oh, where else could I do this? Oh, how could I repurpose this? If you actually think bigger, and when you're creating from the very beginning, think with the repurposing in mind of all the different things. Oh, and if I did this and that, and right from the beginning, it's much easier. So Tanya, would you say right now, for you and for your clients, which social media platform is really loving the video, like, and live stream? Like, where are you seeing in those metrics, where are you seeing it showing up? Because we know the algorithms change, right? Yep. Sometimes it's groups, sometimes it's pages, all kinds of stuff shifts in the social media world, right?
It does.
And so different things like different things at different times. So right now, where are you seeing are the platforms where video and live streaming is really working well?
I would definitely say that Facebook Lives they're not as hot as they were maybe 6 months ago, but they still are legitimate, meaning they still are going to give you the boost, because Facebook is still investing in making sure that their watch platform and that their live streams get seen. And so they will promote your post more if it is in video form. And definitely if it's a live stream video, you're going to see more of your post in the feeds. Other people will see you more than they will others who are not doing live streaming consistently. So I think Facebook for sure, but I will say, and you'll know this too, because I think we both attended the Rocks conference this year, LinkedIn is starting to become a really, really lucrative place for people who are early adopters in video on LinkedIn. And so even if you don't have access to the LinkedIn Live yet, because it's not available to everyone, doing consistent videos or sharing consistent videos that have relevant content for your audience and that are professionally, and when I say professionally, let me make sure I put the disclaimer there. I don't mean that this is a videographer show. Like, you didn't go and pay $10,000 for your video to be edited and all that. I know of a woman who literally just does videos directly from her car because she says that her car has the best audio. So
whatever works.
Yeah, and it works for her. She's doing consistent videos on LinkedIn from her car, and they're really getting a lot of traction. She's built a huge audience and network on LinkedIn. So,
well, that's really good. What do you think about IGTV?
I think the jury's still out on IGTV. I think that initially they promoted it, they meaning Facebook/Instagram, since it's owned by the same folks. They really promoted IGTV to be a winner up front. And then I think people started seeing, first of all, it was difficult to create vertical videos consistently because they wanted to use them in other platforms too. And it took a little bit of time to repurpose the format and change it. So I think marketers marketers found that it was a little bit more time consuming than they wanted for the return on investment, meaning that they weren't getting a lot of eyeballs on those IGTV videos. Instead, what I see more people doing in Instagram is using the stories for their videos. So certainly, I think if you created a series and decided you wanted to kind of experiment with it, it's going to be important for you to see what works for your particular audience. If you've got an audience of people who are Gen X, or an audience of people who are millennials, or you have an audience of women who are age 50 and up, who all do yoga, or you have an audience versus an audience who are all construction workers, you got to think about your audience and experiment and see who is actually watching if you're going to do the IGTV. So if you're going to try it, what I would suggest is start with a series of like 3 to 5 videos, see how they do, and then decide if you're going to continue.
That's great advice. Thank you so much. So what's next for you? What's the next thing that you're going, okay, I'm doing this right now. It's really working for me. But we know that for most of us, that even when we're doing right now, we already know what our next thing is going to be. So yes. Do we get a little sneak peek hint of what's next?
Sneak peek, yes. My sneak peek is that I'm going to continue to first do these challenges that I've been doing. I've been doing 5 to 10 day challenges once every 6 weeks or so. And so my next one's going to be on camera confidence. We're relaunching that. It was a really popular topic. So I'm going to be doing that, delivering that in December to get people ready for 2020. And then next year, my plan literally is to start building out ideas for a channel on YouTube and to use that for sponsorships and to build that up to where it's something that is kind of a go-to for people to do video who don't normally do video. So I really want to work with folks that way. I don't have plans at this time to do any live events, although I keep being asked about it, Patty. So I don't know. We'll have to see how that pans out.
Doing your own or speaking on other people's?
Yeah, doing my own. I don't know that I want to do that. I think that's not up my alley. It's not my passion.
I think people should do the thing that they want to. You know, when my new branding came out, a couple of people said, Patty, like, you're not blogging. You don't have a blog. And I just really realized it was a bold thing for me. And I was just like, I don't like to blog. Yeah. You know, I know everybody talks about it, but you know what? I have a magazine. I write for my magazine and I have a podcast and we have show notes. And there's a lot of ways. A lot of the reasons why people blog is for SEO. There's a lot of other ways to get SEO too. And I just decided, you know what? I don't like to blog. I'm a speaker. And so I'm just not going to.
I love it. I think I'm going to take your advice and just do what I like to do.
Exactly. Let's just do what we like to do. So, Tanya, how can people connect with you?
Definitely one of 2 ways. So I would suggest going to my website at getnoticedwithvideo.com. And my website there is fairly new. So we're building it out, but it has a lot of the information about what we're doing in terms of the courses and programs. And I also would encourage you to connect on Facebook at facebook.com/Tanya Smith Online. So those are my 2 spots, my 2 hangouts.
And you have a gift and you come here and gifts. Like, it's like going to dinner and bringing a bottle of wine.
I do. I have a gift of giving away 5 free video scripts. So these are templates that you can use if you're just starting out with video. One of the biggest things that we run into is, I don't know what to say. I hear that all the time. So these 5 free templates, these scripts will tell you what to say. There's an About Us template. There's an explainer template. There's all kinds of little things that you can kind of check into and just plug and play your own business information into them. And then you can record yourself.
That is awesome. Thank you, Tanya. Oh, I just love that. So here's what we're going to do now. I always want to make sure that when my guests come on and they're so generous, and you have been so generous with information, right? I really want to make sure that we serve and support you as well. So this is the portion of the show that I call Open Mic, kind of my version of social karaoke. And I just want to pass the mic over to you and just say, here's Open Mic. So share with us something that maybe we didn't talk about. And, you know, what's weighing on you? What would you like to share? What would you like to talk about? Open mic, go for it.
Well, here's my open mic comment, I guess. And it is this: I'm about to hit 50 real soon. And I would tell all of my ladies, all my friends who are of age, like me who are more mature that life does not end at 50. This is our opportunity to really experiment, as I've been talking about, and to shine, because we might as well go for it at this point. Like, we're halfway there. So I don't have as many of the things that used to hold me back before. Those things don't hold me back now. I just worry sometimes that we feel like, well, I guess it's too late for me to begin. So my number one message, my only open mic message really is, it doesn't matter your age, if you're 20, if you're 17, if you're 40, if you're 30, whatever your age is, it's an opportunity for you to start now. So don't feel held back from whatever it is, whatever the point is that you feel you're in your life. Don't hold back and feel like that's all there is. Put your toe in the water. Go see what else is out there and try something new. And maybe it's not video for you. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's cooking. I would love to go on a cooking show and learn how to cook. Like, cook like the masters do. I can cook. I can do some decent stuff, but I would love to do more. So I'm making that list of things that I'm just going to go for and not worry about anything holding me back.
Oh, I love that. I really, really love that. Well, thank you so much, Tanya, for being here with me. I really appreciate you coming on the show today. And for everyone out there in the audience, if you enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, and review the podcast on your favorite listening platform. And remember that sharing is caring. It was a pleasure spending time with you. It was a pleasure spending time with Tanya. Thank you again so much, Tanya, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Marketing, Media, and Money.
Thank you for joining us today on the Marketing, Media, and Money podcast. To shorten your learning curve even more, make sure to grab your free copy of the Marketing, Media, and Money magazine at www.marketingmediamoney.com. I promise your business will thank you.